In 2016, the film Kubo and the Two Strings pieced and folded its way into the lively, musical, and storied sea of stop-motion animation. Today, a close friend joins me to explore this memorable film and the coffee that inspires his sweet tooth. This is the Being Real podcast. My name is Evan. Aaron, it's time to be real. Hello and welcome to the Being Real podcast. Today I am joined by my college friend and beyond, Mr. Aaron Gregorzeski. Aaron, how are you?
I'm doing well, Evan. How are you?
I am good. I just got out of work today, but before that, I was on holiday for about 2 weeks in Ireland, which was very exciting for me because myself and my family, we haven't been international. The Shableskis have not been anywhere but North America.
I'm sure it's an interesting show to take on the road. But how was your trip overall?
My trip was good overall. I felt like at points it was a little hectic. We took a coach tour bus. I found that we were like unpacking, exploring, and then packing back up the next morning early and going place to place to place. So it would have been nice to spend a little bit extra time in certain places, but when we did and we slowed things down, I was like taken away by the landscapes that Europe and in particular Ireland has to offer. It's very much like where I live now in Pennsylvania, but everything's untouched, natural, and pothole free.
How is the food? I feel like the food maybe is a little more organic.
Interestingly, the food wasn't up to snuff apparently.
According to who?
The tour guide. He lives in Ireland, Southern Ireland. He lives in Clare County, a town called Ennis, living in more of a rural area. And he's had a close relationship with the person who coordinated the tour from Erie, Pennsylvania, for about 15 years. He said about that time, really, and the coordinators confirmed this, that the food really wasn't anything special. Lamb, beef, potatoes, like staple foods. Like nothing world class. About that time, the Irish government apparently made an initiative to bring chefs from across the world to increase their culinary value, which was interesting.
I mean, were you impressed personally?
I personally was impressed. I feel like I never had a bad meal there. Like, it was presented well. It tasted fantastic, and they were definitely creative with some things there.
I feel like it's hard sometimes as an American, like our food, we're just so used to it. But I feel like things across the Atlantic Ocean or even Pacific Ocean sometimes just taste a little bit better. Maybe that's just from being somewhere else. But
I think it was just natural by European standards. Like, my wife definitely has some stomach issues, and I feel like now, being in Ireland and eating their food, it might be directly related to the poison that they feed us here in the States. Because she never had any issues over there.
No, I've been over a couple times, and honestly, it's weird coming back because then you start, if you don't have issues to begin with, sometimes you just develop the
feeding on the poison.
Yeah,
Well, I wanna take a step back to the States, where we met in Erie, Pennsylvania. Now, I was a homebody for about 22 years of my life, being in school. A lot of my hometown friends had left, and I felt very alone in college, especially switching schools after my first year at Penn State. And I came to Gannon, and you were probably the first person other than our friend Adam who I met and connected with. What do you remember from that point in time?
Oh, I remember that year being a little tumultuous for myself, mostly because there was a bit of a hiccup with my grades. But no, it was nice.
You were a bad pupil, huh?
Yeah, no, it was terrible. They hated me.
What were you doing besides studying?
Well, I was a commuter. I'm from New Hampshire, but I moved to Erie, Pennsylvania for school, and I ended up not living on campus, which made it difficult for me to meet people. So Meeting you definitely helped that as well. Kind of started the friend group up right there. Definitely gave me a little more motivation to actually get it done.
I remember us not having a true concept of being studious at that point in time. Like, we very much didn't take ourselves seriously.
Oh yeah, I failed the easiest class. That's because I just didn't take it seriously at all, which was a good reality check for me.
We met in the commuter lounge at Gannon University at Erie, PA. And
was I selling donuts?
Well, yeah, you were. All right, for those who
okay, for those who don't know, I was doing a fundraiser.
For those who don't know, Aaron liked to hustle donuts back.
It was a fundraiser for Ultimate Frisbee. I would take. It no longer exists. If you missed it, it's gone forever. But no, Jack Frost donuts.
Hustle donuts to all the campus police officers to pay for his school. Is that right?
Yeah, you know what? They definitely turned a blind eye.
Anyway, I met him in the computer lounge, and we were, I think, we were studying for a nutrition course, and we had a project. Won't go over the details of that project because I probably don't remember because I didn't pay attention. But we had this. It was a very intense course because of the professor, and we probably met for a total of 5 minutes to go over this project, and in true us fashion, wrapped it up, and because we felt so apparently confident in ourselves to get the project done.
Jeez, I completely forgot all about nutrition.
That was the first time I remember meeting you in our nursing schooling.
Yeah,
and
yeah. Now that you
from
bring
there,
it up,
it kind of just, I want to say it kind of just gelled together after that.
So many memories that it's hard for me to pick out the early ones because there have been so many more memorable ones along the way, especially post-graduation. Getting out to California and traveling with you, that was fun. 3 months there in LA.
Yeah, I mean, from going to school together and having those memories with a friend group that we made, and me meeting my wife in that friend group, and then becoming nurses and traveling to California during the COVID-19 pandemic, we have been through all facets of young adult life. Do you have a favorite memory?
I think very nostalgic for me is just the group studying in the classrooms late at night, I guess we'll get into the coffee later, but just writing all over the walls, and everyone picked a topic. We would teach it to the group. It would help you understand how to, explain it. And honestly, it helped with patient teaching, I think, which wasn't something I thought at the time, but now I'm kind of realizing that it kind of had more of a professional development aspect to it as well.
Isn't that so interesting that your favorite memory is us simply studying? Like college coursework, something that should be so bland.
I'm so glad we all failed at least one class. Ended up back in the same group, and we're all able to help each other out.
Sentinel event that brought us all together, and we're such a fantastical crew to come together for something so seemingly bland and make it into something fun. Talking with Katie, she shares the same sentiment about that.
It's just, it's when you're with the right group of people, anything can be fun. You can do anything you want. It doesn't matter if it's the most mundane thing. It's just a good time.
Is there any mundane things going on in your life now?
Mundane things would be me preparing to have to look for a new assignment. I'm currently in Denver, Colorado, having a lot of fun out here. Can't say that there's anything mundane about the environment itself, but the professional, I guess, slog of trying to find another contract, get myself a place to live, continue the move around the country, and just all that stuff. Not that it's boring, but it's just one of those things that you have to do, and you don't ever look forward to it.
Well, yeah, almost like in a weird sense, it's similar to feeling like you've unpacked, almost like I did on my trip to Ireland, and you feel comfortable in that space in the time that you're having, and you're establishing that routine, right? And it's probably the challenge of having to do it all over again.
Yeah, and I'm used to living in a place for 3 months, 6 months sometimes. Here will have been almost a full year. I've gotten pretty comfortable here. Not to say that I'm not ready for a change of scenery. It's hard to say that I'm ready for a change of scenery when everything here is just so beautiful, but Going from one side of the Rockies to the other, it's not that big of a change, so I'm ready to get a different perspective on that. But gonna enjoy the last couple months I have here first. I know you're coming out in August. You're seeing a concert at Red Rocks.
And I'm very much excited because I feel like on a lot of people's bucket lists is that Red Rock venue. And you're right, that area is just breathtaking. There's so much to take in from an environmental perspective. And it seems like Denver in itself has been hustling and bustling for the past 10 to 15 years.
It's funny to talk to patients about what Denver used to be like. I was talking with someone last night who remembers it being a quote-unquote one stoplight town on a dirt road. And it's nothing. I could never even picture it like that.
I mean, I feel like it's almost like that grass is greener type mentality where I remember being in California as a travel nurse and wondering why everyone native to the area was talking about leaving and growing tired and bored of the same old. And it just amazes me because when you talk to an East Coast person like myself, California is like the golden land. Like that's where it's happening. That's where you want to be. And how quickly that can change based on the time you spend there.
Yeah, I think you're right. The grass is always greener. That's definitely part of it. And then looking at people who have lived there, the nostalgic aspect of it, you have such fond memories that it's hard to say that, and you can always work up your memories however you want. It's hard to say that now is better than when you thought the golden age was, which I have the same concept of that, where I think, where I grew up in New Hampshire, I lived in the best time to be there. And then same with Gannon.
Yeah.
I think Gannon, I don't know how Gannon truly is now, but I can only imagine it going downhill after we left.
Well, they have a Chick-fil-A now.
Tore down Crack Donald's to put in a curling rink. Can't believe that one.
Crack Donald's is an inner city McDonald's for late night drunken eats and even odder people.
They say America's the mixing pot or the melting pot, but I think Crack Donald's might be more of a microcosm of the representation of America as a whole.
McDonald's is like Waffle House. It's always there just in the time you need it, but it's never going to be what you need.
I beg to differ. There was we can start getting into the coffee now if you'd like.
Is that where coffee begins for you?
Yeah, honestly, it started out strictly utility for me. I can't say that I ever truly took a nice.
Well, I share that opinion with you. I want my coffee to be like motor oil, where it just gives me the fuel to get by, and it can taste like whatever. Now, you've been to California, you've been to Denver, you've been to parts worldwide, far and beyond. Tell me a little bit about what that life of coffee is for you, trying coffee in these different demographic areas.
I think coffee holds meaning differently everywhere, and especially family to family, person to person. I grew up, first time I ever had coffee, I think it was my mom's coffee. Tons of cream, tons of sugar, hazelnut. I still hate hazelnut to this day. I thought it was disgusting.
It's not even nostalgic for you?
No, dude. I smell it, and there's someone at work that drinks it, and anytime I smell it, he held up 2 cups to me, said, "You can pick." I smelled the hazelnut, and I threw it in his face.
Here we go again.
But no, I was raised on black coffee, I guess. I didn't really have it until college, and like I was saying, pretty much strictly utility, keeping me awake through those study nights, or if I ever had a night clinical that I had to get done, coffee was always, there to give me that boost of energy. The first time I had ever really appreciated a cup of coffee, I would say, was in Cleveland. It's where I moved to right after graduation. And there is this place called Common Grounds. No clue if they're still in business now, but
familiar, and it's a great name.
I think I think I took you there one time. You got some type of nutty Irishman or something, but I got this coffee called the Dirty Girl Scout. It's like a Thin Mint melted down and mixed into a coffee. It was amazing. Worth the drive, worth the money. Just a treat, on a nice Saturday, Sunday morning when you have nothing else to do.
That place was interesting because they served their coffee in this styrofoam cup. And it was a large styrofoam cup with a lid, and I've never had anything like it in my life, but I remember the flavors blending together were fantastic.
It was so smooth.
World class.
It came out, they would hand it to you and it was perfect drinking temperature. I really have nothing bad to say about it. But nowadays, I will go out and buy my own beans. And I think that all started there as well, because they would sell this coffee there that was like blueberry cinnamon roll or something of the sort. And it was, you grind it up. I could honestly just never even have drank it and just smelled it over and over again, and it would have done the same thing for me.
That's the thing. Sometimes those fresh smelling roasts or flavorful aromas, they don't always translate into the coffee. But my God, when they're brewing, do they ever waken you up? Now, finding my own beans is something that I like to do myself. There's nothing like taking a fresh bag of beans, grinding them up, and being able to put that in the pot for roast. I think it's even better when you find beans that are locally sourced or maybe from worldwide. We have a shop in downtown Pittsburgh in what's called the Strip District, where you can find coffee from all around the world, and then it comes together in the middle of the room, blending all these different types of flavors of coffee, like amaretto coffee, orange, and I think that's a really nice touch because it brings people together to find what beans they love the most. Is there any type of flavor of a bean that you're drawn to?
I'm more of a medium roast guy. If I have to say,
you're really gonna go the middle road, huh?
Yeah, I don't know. It's something about the dark roast. Like the smells are great.
What do you think that says about you?
I just kind of go with the flow.
No,
I'm not too.
It doesn't have to be a bad thing.
I don't know what it says about me as a person. I never really gave it much thought, but I guess I could go with light roast because I think that has more caffeine in it, if I'm not mistaken. The dark roast would probably be more for a coffee enjoyer, someone who likes to take their time and sit down and really enjoy their cup of coffee. But medium roast, I tend to appreciate the flavors and the aromatics, but at the end of the day, coffee is coffee, and I'm there to send it down the hatch and use it however I can for energy.
Now, I am a fan of a dark roast coffee. I like some burnt foods, like if you burn my marshmallow or my hot dog, that's where I'm at. So a dark roast is definitely up my wheelhouse. I think coffee appreciators around the world like different things. What did you find? I know you went to Italy, and I know you've been to Iceland. What did you find there? Was there anything in particular about the people and their coffee?
Italians are just crazy. They love their coffee, but they're not interested in sitting down and enjoying a cup. They are there for the caffeine. I was going to talk about the difference between a U.S. cappuccino and Italian cappuccino.
Well, hold on. Just right now, you have the floor, please.
You get a cappuccino here. It's milk, coffee, maybe one shot of espresso.
Right.
Cappuccino over there, you're going to get this cup, little teacup. You honestly might think it's a joke because it's so small. Piping hot, it's one shot. It's as much caffeine as you would expect, and it's super bitter. But after that, you are wide awake. You feel like you can take on anything, really. And that's kind of the gist of it. That's Italian coffee. I mean, they might sit down and enjoy something a little more desserty after dinner. But for them, coffee, I feel like, is a super utility food.
Sustenance.
Yeah.
Well, when we were in California, I actually had a true cappuccino, what you're talking about. And I was expecting I think it was actually a macchiato, to be fair. Hold on. It was a macchiato. And I was expecting the big old, iced coffee with, the bunch of cream and caramel in it, almost like a caramel macchiato that you'd find at Starbucks or any other commercial coffee brand. And it wasn't. It was a very small, and I ordered it to go. So imagine this: it came in a little small paper cup with a little paper lid. Now there's a couple questions I had for you when we're thinking about coffee here, and this is one about the direction of coffee in today's world, and the other about maybe some of the economics behind coffee. Do you feel like, as a whole, in the world of coffee, do you feel like it's becoming more pretentious, or do you feel like it's simply more creative and or inspired?
I think it can be both. I feel like the more creative and inspired part of it is inherently pretentious. I feel like people not that it's not a point of pride to be roasting your own beans and adding whatever flavors.
Sure.
I do feel like people take it to extremes, and the coffee culture has kind of gotten a little pretentious. I don't want to say out of hand, but then there are people like my grandparents who they always have a pot of coffee going. It doesn't matter what time of day. Pour themselves a cup of black coffee, and just it's just a way of life for them. So I wouldn't call them pretentious. Honestly, I'd call them a little uneducated because they like Maxwell House. Sorry, Grandma.
I'm gonna beat the fuck out of you, son of a bitch.
Yeah, if I'm going with anything basic, I'm going with Folgers.
I would also pledge myself to Folgers. Folgers. There's. I made it sound like an office company. Folders.
I pledge allegiance.
Folgers. It comes in that plastic barrel, and there's nothing like popping off that lid.
Yeah, honestly, and their jingle. I don't know if Maxwell House even has a jingle. Which honestly,
wait, can we talk about the infamous Folgers commercial?
You mean the best part of waking up?
No, the incestual Folgers commercial. Have you ever seen that?
I'm gonna look it up right now.
Well, all right. So, I'll give you a little bit of background while you're researching this. It's a commercial that Folgers put out. I want to say it was maybe late '90s, early 2000s, and a brother was coming home. I think from the military, somewhere.
Is it Christmas time?
Pro-military. Maybe Christmas holiday time. I don't think so, but maybe. And he comes home, and the sister's all surprised and excited, and they get a little too close. It's borderline incestual.
Oh, see, I thought you were saying it was a very old commercial. I searched ancestral.
Not. Oh my God, no. Way worse than that.
Yeah, she puts the bow on his chest here.
Aren't they being like a little too playful?
Well, you can tell by the way the jingle is sung with the southern drawl.
It's romantic, right? It's a very romantic commercial, and they're clearly pinned as siblings.
It ain't real, right? I mean, wait, is there like a real version of this commercial? Because I just found like the most vulgar. It's called flirting.
Did someone like?
I think so. I think so. Yeah.
No. So I would love to know what the background of that commercial is and how it all came together to be the way it was. Like maybe they picked two actors who had a little bit too much chemistry in the commercial, but were supposed to be siblings.
Yeah, I'm seeing this now. This is honestly a little disturbing.
It's scary. It's very scary. But anyway, not to get sidetracked.
No, they just got walked in on by their parents.
The best part of waking up is with incest in your cup.
See, I thought this was a family show. I didn't think we were going to get into all this, but
now not to be sidetracked, but my second question for you was, with the ever increasing price of coffee, with some mixed drinks at Starbucks popping in at $6 to $7 to $8 for a beverage, what do you think is like an appropriate price for a cup of coffee? Maybe let's just say like a cup of coffee and a latte in this day and age.
A cup of coffee. You're talking about just a plain old.
We're talking about plain
like
coffee,
drip coffee.
We're talking about maybe like a semi-fancy latte.
A drip coffee, a small drip coffee should cost you $2.50, and I think that's being a little bit financially irresponsible. As a latte, I mean, if you're gonna pay for a 16 ounce, I think it should probably cost you about $4. I think the margin on profit is even at that price pretty good. I don't think it should cost any more than that.
As I'm looking at you during this meeting, as you're talking, it looks like we're in a Starbucks investor meeting. He's
talking about profit. Talking about
profit
margins.
Profit margins.
No, but it's coffee, it's water, it's beans, and you're buying them in bulk. Like, I don't understand why I should be paying $6, $7, $8.
Well, I mean, let's talk about the tip culture behind coffee as well. I feel almost bad not tipping them because these Starbucks employees have definitely made their case across social media as to why they deserve the tips they do from the treatment they receive and from their administration. Now, do you typically tip at a coffee shop?
It'll depend. I think with the amount of ridiculous customization you can get at Starbucks, I feel like if you order something that requires superior effort to make, maybe you should tip them, because I don't know any specific orders off the top of my head. I'm like I said, pretty basic with my black coffee pretty much anywhere I go. But yeah, if you're going to require them to mix 6 different ingredients just for you to enjoy a cup of coffee, I think maybe you should give them a little something on the side. But yeah, if I'm just going to get them to pour me a drip coffee, I could go back there and do it myself. Anything I could do myself, and I don't mean to sound like that guy, but if I can reach over the counter and pour myself a cup of coffee, I don't think I need to be tipping for something like that.
When I was international, tipping wasn't even a thing.
I know
They would take my card and they would shoo me away.
Strictly an American thing, yeah.
Even in a restaurant where it would be expected in America. But I think for coffee, you're right. There are certain instances where the baristas certainly put a lot of work into it, much more than they should. I mean, you look at some of those receipts on the Starbucks cups, and they're like a laundry list of items. And I don't understand, except that we have a real problem with sugar in America. That's a whole separate conversation.
Sugar and caffeine. We're talking about all this coffee, and we're not even getting to the point that it's considered drug abuse, I guess, at a certain point.
Fair enough. I guess I don't remember at what point coffee has gotten to this level of extravagance and cost, but
I do have a couple honorable mentions, if I may interject myself here.
Honorable mentions regarding what?
Oh, just coffee in general.
Please. For
the listeners out there, if you ever have the chance to come across creme keks, they're basically vanilla Oreos. I found them in Iceland, and they're good by themselves. But if you can dip them into a coffee, it's pure bliss. It's KREM.
Have you been able to get them since?
I haven't got them since. They were so good. I had my buddy stop at a grocery store. I picked up a couple packs to take back on the plane with me. He made fun of me, but I got the last laugh.
That's like you walking away from my wedding with a box of pizzelles.
Oh yeah, honestly.
This man and cookies.
Absolute robbery. Honestly, I really made out, but it was worth the drive. I'll tell you that, just for the pizzelles alone.
I mean, I remember you killing sleeves and sleeves of Thin Mint Oreos, which may be why you love the Dirty Girl Scout at Common Grounds.
Yeah, no, it's I'm a sucker for Thin Mints. Honestly,
I mean, you're really calling out
really
the people in America about sugar and caffeine addiction when we have a Cookie Monster.
Yeah, I know. It's bad. I specifically restrict myself from buying any type of sweets, cookies at the grocery store, because if it's in front of me, I will eat it. And I've been pretty good. Been eating pretty good recently. Been going on a lot of hikes out here in the Rocky Mountains.
Is this your intervention? Do you want me to invite members of your family onto this call?
No, I think if you took my A1C, it would be pretty within normal limits. So I think I'm okay right now. But I do have a family history of diabetes, so get me a little further down the road here, get a little out of discipline, and maybe we can start having that conversation. And then my second honorable mention might seem like a cliche, but the Outlet down in New Orleans, Cafe Du Monde, get the beignets. You won't regret it.
Oh yeah.
And I get an Outlet every now and then, even after that. I think it's just steamed milk and coffee, but something about it is just sometimes you need it.
All right, so now I would like to transition into what I call the movie world, and I want to talk about the film that you chose. One that I was not familiar with in the slightest. And I think we'll get to that. There's a reason why I think many people haven't heard of this film. But the film you chose is the 2016 American stop-motion animated. It's like an action fantasy film produced by a Portland, USA studio, Leica, Kubo, and the Two Strings. Can you? What point in your life did Kubo saunter in with his lute, his Japanese lute?
It's a shamisen, but that's okay. Actually, it was in 2016. There's a drive.
I knew it was a shamisen. I was just trying to tee you up.
Thanks, I appreciate that. See how much I really knew about it. The first time I saw this, it was actually at the Waterford Drive-In down a little bit south of Erie, Pennsylvania. Yeah. That was, I think, part of why it stuck out in my brain. It was very interesting to see at a drive-in. I haven't been to too many of those. I think maybe 3 movies I've seen in a drive-in. But I also just recall it being kind of a movie that I don't know how many stop-motion films I've really seen that are well developed, kind of honestly mature for being a kid movie. I would classify it as a children's movie. There's a lot of grown-up themes and messages, I guess, lessons that can, it doesn't really treat children as children. I think I kind of respected that about this movie as well. But it was just a very interesting, I guess, way to tell a story. I think they did a very good job of it.
Well, if you could give me 30 seconds on a clock to give a short synopsis for the audience about Kubo, could you do it?
Kubo is a magical child. He has a magical mother. He has a magical grandfather who is evil. He's the Moon King. His father, as you learn throughout the story, is Hanzo. He's a warrior who fights the Moon King. And this child is his. He has the power to manipulate paper with music, playing his shamisen, and he has to find all these pieces of armor that belong to his father to fight the Moon King in his final battle.
That was like 3 seconds short of half a minute. That was very impressive.
Sweet. All right, I think I'm the first one. Maybe not, but.
Well, now with this movie, I feel like there's a lot to talk about with this movie. There's a lot of fantasy elements in this movie. There's a lot to do with music and I think Japanese culture in general. The director of this film, Travis Knight, he was very enthusiastic about the project itself. He wanted something to be an epic fantasy, like what he watched when he was a child watching Star Wars for the first time, which was in itself inspired by Japanese media and culture. He very much took art in Japan and media like ink wash painting in their TV and film and origami, among others. And it's all sort of meshed into this film. And I want to know if you want to touch on the characters, if you want to touch on the messages first. Where do you want to start?
I guess we can start at the beginning. I think the way they develop the world is very mysterious at first. You have no idea what's going on. There's no words. It's just a lot of visual. Actually, I can't really say that. He does. I think specifically he says, if you must blink, do it now. But then urges you to pay attention to everything you see and hear. And then it proceeds to develop the story. There's a lot of unspoken exposition. It opens on the moon, which you don't know anything about the Moon King at that point. There's a mother carrying a baby. You see the sigil of Hanzo this
shrine
kid
is a beetle.
Yeah, and it's I guess it's a shawl that's wrapping up this child. Seems like there's really no hope at the very beginning of the movie. It really starts you out in a dark place, but as the movie progresses, things start to become a little bit lighter. The world seems to become a little more inviting and welcoming. The characters, despite the mother, seem to have a lot of personality to them, especially the villagers. There's a lot going on there.
Well, let's take a minute to talk about that setting and that world building that you said. I was so captivated when we see Kubo and his mother on that giant wave on the boat when he's just a small newborn. And it crashed. She's able to stave off the wave, and she uses that shamisen to do so. And they crash land. She hits her head on an ocean floor rock, and they wash up among shore to a crying Kubo, both of them surviving. And then it takes us to this cave where they are in the not so distant future. Kubo, a very, very young boy, and his mother. And we find him taking care of her, and everything about this stop motion in this scene, this lighting by the fire in the cave is so tangible. When he drops the rice into the roiling pot of water and it burns him, everything just feels so alive when traditionally claymation has seemed so uncanny. How do you feel about that?
No, I think you did a pretty good job summarizing that there. They really kind of make it personable. It's weird because, most movies you're seeing people, and they really try to bring a human nature to this claymation, stop motion part of it. And it's a lot of things, a lot of sounds, a lot of visuals that people can relate with, just cooking a meal, setting up plates or bowls, and just basically like setting a table. I know they don't have a table, but just kind of like that very intimate setting of just sharing a meal with your mother, I guess.
It's almost like that conscious thought that Knight and his team thought about how we interact with the world. And even though Kubo's in a small cave with his ailing mother, they make it feel so real by the little things that he does, as this origami paper, for whatever reason, washes up in the cave room, and they make it feel almost like a chore for him to pick up these various little things, and they make it feel like an established world, like we're taking a window view into Kubo's life as it's been for the past few years.
Yeah, it's a routine. So I would say
it is a routine. I mean, if there's one shot in that beginning sequence before he exits the cave, is there anything in particular you would love hanging on your wall? You could even take the whole movie, like one shot, one piece of scenery in the movie that you would have hanging on your living room wall.
I think it would be him sitting across from the monkey when he sets the monkey up, or he sets his mother across from the monkey.
Yeah.
And they're basically sitting across, like she's almost sitting across from. I don't want to spoil anything, but
The symmetry is like striking.
yeah, it's cool.
Movie. And you're right, it's almost like a reflection.
No, I think you mentioned when she hit her face on the rock under the water. I think that there's a mirror image like scar on the actual monkey bauble as well, which is just like another little hidden detail, like another like super minute detail. So like when they are sitting across from each other, it is almost like a reflection.
And with the mother herself, what is your, if we can just take an aside to talk about her character role specifically, because she's only in this form in the movie for a short while. What do you think, what is your interpretation of her ailing? Is it because of her head injury, or?
It's, when she starts providing Kubo with the story of, his family, it seems to make more sense that she's a descendant of these night people, the Moon King. I wasn't sure when I first watched it if it was because she had hit her head, but she just seems to come more alive when the sun goes down, which would, I guess, be pretty consistent with her heritage. And that would be my takeaway after seeing it multiple times.
That was my interpretation too. I feel like because she is that almost moon princess, she is more lively during the nighttime. But I almost wonder if there's maybe an angle where she's saving her powers to protect Kubo during the night, so she's more vegetative during the day.
I think that's definitely a part of it as well. It is, I guess, of note that Kubo does set her up in the sun during the day. He doesn't leave her in the cave. And as the movie progresses, you see that Hanzo's sigil, I guess, is the sun. One thing that I kind of am just realizing now. Yeah, it's just an interesting aspect of it that even though that his father's not there, her husband's not there, that the symbolism is.
Now, when Kubo is advised by his mom to be back before nighttime, when he travels down to the town below the mountain in the cave that they're in, we find that Kubo has a flair for the dramatic. He is a very impressive storyteller, which is really the beginning of his arc. And he uses that paper in the cave to make these beautiful pieces of origami that he brings to life. What do you think is the impact that Kubo had on the townspeople?
It's very interesting. I want to touch on just like the sheer expressiveness of that old lady in the town. I did not know that stop motion claymation could be so expressive. And then Kubo, clearly they all know him. Everyone loves him. They're just cool with his magic abilities being a part of everyday life, I guess. I think they do a very good job of weaving music, storytelling, visuals. It's more
Speaking
of
expressiveness, when he was playing that lute,
yeah,
his fingers were matching the chords and everything to bring those origami papers to life to create those stories.
Yeah, I think
it's insane.
Yeah, no, they did a very good job with just producing the movie in general. I think it took them either 5 years or 5,000 hours, but regardless, it's just an insane work of art. I feel like the sheer camaraderie of all the villagers, as the story goes, the old woman tells him to incorporate the fire-breathing chicken into his story this time. Everyone has a great time. Everyone's disappointed when he can't finish his story, but there's a very good reason why he can't, and it always leaves him coming back for more. I mean, he is a beggar after all, so he's got to keep him interested. He can't just be finishing the story. It's funny that he says every story has an end, and then he actually never finishes his stories, to the village people at least.
Ironic for sure. He definitely brings a sense of humanity to these townspeople, which is a stark contrast to what we find the moon people stand for, alluding to him losing his eye since he was a baby when his mother was escaping the Moon Kingdom. But I want to talk about in that scene where he brings to life that samurai who is called Hanzo.
Mm-hmm.
Hanzo, a samurai warrior who is set out on a journey to collect two pieces of armor, really, and a weapon.
Yes.
Golden like the sun. Sword, remind me of the sword.
Sword unbreakable?
The chest plate.
Yeah, no, I'm going to have to...
Anyways, a chest plate and a helmet are the three almost MacGuffins that we're searching for on this story that Kubo weaves into his own with the townspeople. I find it interesting that he mentions Hanzo in his story searching for these other things when we find that he's almost searching for his family, including Hanzo himself. It sort of kickstarts this whole thing when Kubo decides to return to the cave in his home a little too late in the night when the Moon Kingdom has risen. And there are two other characters who come into the story, and I believe they're sisters?
Yeah, they're mother's sisters, Kubo's mother's sisters. There's three of them. They are the creepiest. All of a sudden just appearing out of the middle of nowhere.
I know what they were. Leica's the same studio that did Coraline.
Yes.
And they remind me of that claymation. They're absolutely spooky.
I think they're scarier. I think it's because Coraline tries to, at least the other mother, attempts to be somewhat of a mother. These two are just pure evil, and you can tell right away.
They're a stark contrast to the goodness and the humanity that Kubo and his mom try to bring to the table, even though we haven't even met the ultimate evil until much later, and really toward the ending and closing of this film. Now, as far as the characters, do you think any particular voice actor or actress gave the strongest performance?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember who the voice actress is of these sisters.
I know Kubo was Art Parkinson, Charlize Theron for Kubo's mother, Matthew McConaughey plays the Beetle.
Yeah, hearing Matthew McConaughey's voice, it's a little more. It doesn't impress me as much because I know him off the bat and I recognize his voice.
I know him, but I can tell he put so much effort into his deliveries.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's a good performance. It's just for me, I can't separate. Just because of my body of knowledge of his work to this point.
That's fair. You know him as the Wall Street broker in Wolf of Wall Street.
Yeah, I know him as True Detective. I think might be his best performance.
The sisters, I think one
Rooney Mara. Mara.
One I know is Rooney Mara, who is a powerhouse of an actress. You feel like she gave the most? Would you say her performance was haunting?
She held nothing back. I feel like she delivered the proper emotion. She really just encapsulated. I don't know how you put yourself in a position where you feel like you're actually the daughter of a moon king whose sister betrayed you and your family. She really brought the creepiest and most evil energy she possibly could. I really like the shot where it looks like it's just one sister, and then all of a sudden it's just the other sister right behind her, just splitting off, and there's now two of them. It's just like, oh my god.
That particular shot is incredible because it gives this almost haunting image that they're never going to be dealt with. Like they're splitting from each other. There's more of them.
Yeah, it's like a hydra.
Going to stop. Exactly. Is there any particular character in the film that you think you most identify with, or maybe a relationship in the movie that you really identify with closely?
I think it's mostly, I felt like my parents are always there to protect me, so I don't necessarily draw like a comparison between me and Kubo. I definitely don't have any magic powers, nor do my parents, but I feel like it's a very easy relationship to draw a comparison with. Unfortunate for those who can't. I know that there are people out there who have lost a parent or are adopted. There are certain circumstances where that relationship was never developed. But yeah, I think just having my parents always there for me, whether together or separate, it's something I can relate to. This is jumping quite ahead in the actual story, but Kubo says at one point, "I've never had a meal between anybody." I think there's a lot of appreciation in the fact that he's actually enjoying a meal with, I guess at this point he doesn't realize it, but two parental figures in his life. Probably the most important people to him at that very moment. And definitely frustrating. There's that scene right before that, I believe, where the parents are bickering, and the dad seems to believe that the kid can do a little bit more, and the mom's trying to shelter him, and meanwhile he's assembling this insane boat out of leaves with his shamisen.
Did you hear about that in the production of the movie, about that boat?
I think I wrote it down. It took them, they used 250,000 leaves. It took them 16 people over the course of 4 months to build it.
You thought that I was going to put that in the 2 Truths, 1 Lie game, didn't you?
I know what I'm walking into here.
Well, but isn't it just incredible, though, the amount of time meticulously printing off each individual leaf to put on that boat is insane and speaks to the level and complexity and care that this movie received. It's almost like creating this movie and worrying about the very small, fine details translates into how we feel about the film. I didn't even know prior or during watching this film that this boat was made up of 250k small leaves.
It's absolutely insane.
But I felt like this movie was bigger than life watching it. The small details can make the biggest impact on people.
It's odd to see a world built in front of you. It looks so large, and then you go behind the scenes, and it's, people are playing small with toys. Yes, exactly.
Is there any point in Kubo's journey that was impactful to you? That really spoke to you, that made you say, like, huh, that's interesting?
I think going back to initially when he just wakes up in this tundra with this monkey staring down over top of him. It's a very abrupt death of innocence. I think the first words that the monkey speaks to him are, "Your mother is dead. We need to move." Like, okay, great, awesome. Let me cope with that for a second.
I love when he's like trying to piece the puzzle together, and he's sitting there. He's like, "Well, who are you? Who are you? Like, I'm trying to figure everything else out. Who are you?" And she's like, "Oh, you don't remember me?" And she like assumes the form of the little.
She just like puts her
statue.
She puts her like fucking arms up and like flicks her wrists down. Makes the face and everything. No, the part I'm trying to get to here is I think after the fact he still is able to maintain that sense of like childlike whimsy when they're like on their trip, and he's just like kind of fucking with the monkey, like creating all these birds out of origami paper. I like the fact that they didn't just completely ignore like his storytelling ability or his magical powers, and how they go back and forth, just kind of like toying with each other, like he's basically harassing the monkey.
Right. It feels very, like, the humor feels very natural, like it would in real life, where things are just bouncing off one another, whether it be body language, a look, a glance, or just a comment. It's not they're going for these big laughs.
Yeah, there's no like knee slappers. I mean, I guess there's a couple, and thanks to Matthew McConaughey for that, but
I think what you said, like they bring this sense of childlike wonder as Kubo is exploring a world with new friends. One of my favorite characters is Paper Origami Hanzo, who is almost like a badass Jiminy Cricket.
Yeah.
They have him pointing his sword in different directions because he's obviously mute. It's almost like he's like a moving compass, and he just brings me so much joy because I remember back in my time where I was drawing, creating things and characters and people, and to have them come to life, what a joy that would be.
It's weird. It's never explicitly said that like this could be the end of the world, but it's hard to imagine him not surviving this encounter would just absolutely destroy the universe.
Yeah, and I never feel in the movie that all the stakes are on this mission for Kubo. Like, they give me the comfort of knowing that everything's going to work out because he has his friends to pick him up, or actually literally do everything for him.
Yeah, I was going to say, all the heavy lifting is pretty much done by the monkey and the beetle until the very end. Actually,
I like it, because if I was a kid, that's how I would want my epic journey to go. I don't want to have to do anything. I want to rely on these people that I've met to be my like meat shields and my strong arms.
That's why I watch the Stanley Cup playoffs. That's not why I'm sitting there in net blocking all the shots.
Were you trying to make an allegory to my life?
Yes, actually.
Not reaching my potential in hockey.
The first Evan to win the Stanley Cup. It was not Evan Sobolewski.
The first Evan to raise the Stanley Cup was Evan Rodriguez for the Florida Panthers. And Aaron sent me that message out of spite.
You sent the proper response. It should have been me.
It should have been me. You gotta say it like Justin Timberlake.
Oh, you're gonna have to be in handcuffs for that one.
Ooh. Not the Justin Timberlake.
All right, where were we?
Okay.
Talking about your journey being, you're being shouldered by.
Oh yes, so we're talking about the childlike wonder and bringing that to life, and how Kubo does that in the movie, and how it's not like a traditional epic adventure where a young man or woman is the world's thrust upon them and they have to grow up very quickly. Kubo doesn't have to, and I like that decision made by the Leike team to do just that. For Art Parkinson, the voice actor for Kubo, he was cusping on the edge of 16, 17 years old, and his voice was still very young. And Travis Knight said in an interview that was the golden time for those type of voice actors, because their voice is almost straining at that point on the cusp of adolescence, where they can give a very conflicted performance between being a child and being a man. And the last final chording recession, his voice dropped.
Really?
And he wasn't able to do the rest of his lines. So
oh man. Yeah, that's actually, I did not know that. You should have saved that for your 2 truths and a lie.
Damn it. I think this is a good place to leave off. I want to talk about those beats of the story that are more climactic and theatrical, maybe dramatic. And we can also talk about the themes before closing with our final takes on the movie. What do you say?
Sounds good.
Hello and welcome back to the Being Real podcast. Here with my main man, Aaron, talking
Howdy.
about a little dude named Kubo in the claymation world, really stop motion. So Aaron, I really feel like what we've been lacking so far is talking about the feats of these amazing set action pieces that we get in the film, specifically with more of the fights. I kind of wanted to see where you wanted to touch on first. We don't even have to go in order in sequence for the movie.
Okay. I guess we can start with the first technically fight scene would be the one where Kubo's telling the story in the village.
Fair.
Which, I mean, just touch on it. I think it's well done. The music accompaniment is perfect. He's just sitting there around his little paper campfire telling his story to the villagers. Yeah. Many different beasts, many different, yes. I guess, ways to slay the beasts. I think it's interesting how I think they used, what do they call that stuff? I don't know, whatever you wrap a house with while you're doing construction with it to like do the origami.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it's called either. Construction paper.
Right. Yeah, that works for me. I think it's a fun way to kind of introduce like the action into the movie. It's very lighthearted.
On one hand, you have this young man where like it's pretty much your dream back then to play with these toys and come to life when you're a kid, right? You know, I don't know. I used to play with Bionicles.
Oh yeah.
And just, I don't know, just trying to bring that action into life. So here he's like doing it in real time with magic, and it's culturally significant to the culture in Japan. Obviously modeling things after, the natural world or like the warriors and heroes we're talking about, but I feel like each one symbolizes something that happens a lot with our animals in those like Asian cultures. Like they signify something, whether it be love or good fortune or health and wellness. But for Kubo, like this is really he's trying to wrap his mind around his like ideal father figure in the little miniature. I forget what's his name. It's slipping my mind. Hanzo in his mind is almost like ideal father figure. So I thought that was neat.
Yeah, I wish my dad was a badass samurai too.
Listen, my dad was a water plant operator, and knowing every day I could go to my sink and have a fresh, healthy glass of water, he's it, man. He's him.
It's awesome.
So where does our if you want to go in sequence, where does our next battle take us? Would the next segment be the gargantuan skeleton?
I think so. I think that would be in chronological order there.
Which we've already talked is like a feat in itself, having one of the largest figures in a stop motion movie at 15 feet. Is it 15 feet?
It's something like that. It's like 500 pounds.
Just think like how badass it would be to be able to create a stop motion confrontation with a 15-foot tall figure and then having to scale these little miniature Kubos and Hanzo and the monkey, and I don't know, that would just be so cool. Do you feel like that conflict in itself, does it say something like maybe this new world he's approached is a little bit larger than life? Or what do you think it says?
It definitely seems like they're just thrown into it kind of immediately. I mean, they get into the battle unexpectedly. I think Beetle like picks something up, and obviously like the Indiana Jones reference, where just like all of a sudden this giant skeleton is just staring down at them. But I think it's a nice test for Kubo, and I guess the group as a whole, to work as a team and test and see exactly what how quick Kubo can think on his feet.
Honestly, I like all those callbacks, all those allusions back to different points in cinema. Like some people might find it too cheesy, but I eat that shit up. Like I go for it. Like give me some iconic movies and rewrap it for me, and into something like more magical, and I'm all there.
Yeah.
I feel like the battle itself, you start to see like the beginnings of synergy between the three, is really alluding to the fact in hindsight that this is really a like nuclear family in the making, coming back together in a reunion. So you see that in the ways they play off each other. The Beetle and his wings being able to make the team a little bit more mobile and able to scale this gigantic beast. Yeah. I just thought seeing that synergy happen just made me care about this group more.
Obviously, trying to get the sword, it's a team effort, Kubo runs into some trouble. He gets saved by his parents.
But I love how the skeleton has these multitude of swords in his head, and they're trying to find the sword unbreakable, and they're literally just they have to like just smash all these different swords to find the right one.
I mean, hey, if you're looking for the sword unbreakable, there's really only one process of elimination.
I don't think there's really anything else we need to touch on that one. I think it's more show than substance in that particular battle, and that's fine. Agree. And that's fine. Where does the conflict with the monkey take place, where she reveals herself to be Kubo's mother?
Well, I think it happens after the battle with the sister. The first battle, because I think when Kubo's under the water and he's like being hypnotized by the eyes, he has like a vision of Monkey and then his mother, and I think that's kind of like when he realizes who she is.
They're on the like $250,000 leaf boat, and the sisters come to attack, and they're kind of split between a battle between the monkey and a sister, and Kubo being entranced by this sea monster with plentiful eyes glowing in the water, right?
Yeah.
I guess if we're talking about the big mom reveal, it's interesting how they're caught in this ocean storm, and it almost calls back to the very first scene where Kubo and his mom are literally raging against this ocean thunderous tide, right? So you almost get that connection before it's even revealed.
It's kind of like also the worst place to be during the night if you think of what the moon can do to the ocean.
Have you ever like seen that level of like stakes in an animated movie. Like, felt the visceral threat of death in an animated movie. She took like a chained scythe to Monkey's back, and I'm like, who is this? I almost have to question, especially in this battle, what age group this movie wasn't intended for, because, damn, she took a hit.
Yeah, multiple. I think she got grappled once and then twice, and then I think even the monkey comes up with like the chain wrapped around the sister's throat. She's like trying to choke her out with it.
Yeah.
What I like about the fight is you see Kubo go under the water, and the boat doesn't deteriorate until Kubo starts to kind of like lose consciousness. I think that's a nice thread through the whole fight scene, and the monkey realizes that once the boat starts to deteriorate, that Kubo's in trouble. I think the continuous deterioration of the boat mixed, like, it would be one thing if they were cutting back and forth to just like Kubo underneath the water and Beetle trying to rescue Kubo from his situation, but the fact that has an effect on the way that the battle is fought as well, I think is a nice tie-in.
And it also brings like an elevated level of suspense when, you know, you see a sinking ship and two people are battling for space, especially in Monkey's case, as she can't really fly, and then we have a sister who has that ability, and it's
kind of a mismatch.
I also didn't even realize that she could even use a fucking sword to begin with, so I don't know, like, she definitely has a lot of plot armor, but I appreciate that they showed that, again, she's not infinite, you know? Like, just because this is almost like a dream-like world for Kubo, where his fantasies play out, it doesn't mean that people are invulnerable, which was nice. You see the stakes happen here. And it comes to a crescendo when I can't believe I don't remember this line because I wrote it down somewhere. But when the monkey goes for the final strike on that first sister, God, what does she say?
I think the sister tells her that love has made her weak. And then monkey comes back with, it made me stronger.
Yes, which alone is an important message of the film. And I love that when she strikes the sister down, as she's revealing herself to be Kubo's mom, the sister's mask comes off. And to me, in my opinion, I'm thinking like a literal mask has come off. She's been revealed to be the mother, which was a cool little tidbit that I personally thought of when watching.
Nice. I didn't really pick up on that. I like that.
So I would like now, if we could take a break from these conflicts. I feel like we've talked about a lot of action. Why don't I challenge you to try to best me in a game I like to call Two Truths and a Lie?
I've been ready. You're
down?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Along the way, we have name dropped a few of the facts in the movie, and I know you were just chewing, salivating at the potential that you would slip me up on my quiz, but I've done my research, and I'd like to play a numbers game. Are you ready?
Sure.
Okay, let's do it. Fact number 1. Kubo's puppet had a total of 23,187 prototype faces created, which, part 2 of the question, a total of 48 million possible facial expressions. Fact number 2. The sister's costume, talking about the second of the two sisters, was actually inspired by a female samurai warrior. The cape itself, almost looking like a crow, was included with 861 laser-etched feathers, and they were each uniquely shaped. Fact number 3. The kimono worn by Kubo's mother was inspired by a certain era in Japan. They took that inspiration and actually cut out the laser pieces that would mimic to scale the weighted lining of the kimono, giving it the proper folds, that proper weight, and it included 1,800 laser cut pieces.
1,800, you said?
1,800. Aaron, this is a numbers game. I know you're no statistician, But can you pick out the lie?
Is that because you knew I took the statistics twice?
No, I actually didn't, but I'm glad. I'm so much happier knowing that now.
Oh, man. All right, actually wouldn't be surprised if all of these were truths and you just were claiming one of these was a lie. The 23,187. That's a very specific number.
Okay, I like it so far.
I find that number is a bit large, much like the 80 cigarettes a day.
Is it? So yeah, I mean, do you want me to go over these again? Just kind of work you through it.
I tried to take spark notes here.
Because really, I mean, like I said a lot for each fact, but the numbers are what we're focusing on here. So
yeah. So
fact number 1, 23,187 faces for Kubo, which would create a 48 million possible facial expressions. 2, 861 laser etched feathers on the second sister's cape. And fact number 3, Kubo's mother's kimono was designed with 1,800 laser cut pieces of that lining.
There's so many like small details in here that I feel like they would pay attention to as much as like the kimono inspired. I feel like they would want to do something like that justice. The sister's cape being inspired by the female samurai, I feel like that is also true. The one thing I don't know is if all of those were truly unique shapes. And then the 23,187. I don't know, man. I think that one's it. I'm just gonna go with the 23,187. Fact number 1 is the lie.
Aaron.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go!
You failed statistics 3 times now.
That's my son! That's my boy! My boy!
No, I'm kidding. But no, for real, the kimono was created with 2,000 laser cut pieces.
How many did you tell me?
I mean, 1,800. 1,800.
Oh, okay. All right.
Okay. Now, this was an extraordinarily hard challenge, but I wanted to do something like this because of how much detail and numbers they put into this freaking movie. And I thought it was all interesting that these were all like tracked in the movie. It's crazy. I would just like to say that I'm so happy that I was able to deliver you a third L, and numbers are not your strong suit.
That's all right. Third L for your third dub. I think that's your record now, correct? You're 3-1.
I do. I was a little bit shaky on the second episode where I lost, and I was 500, but now I have a certain amount of confidence in myself. Now I can truly say I am a numbers man. I am well ahead in the leaderboard. Something that I wanted to touch on coming out of the game is the themes in this movie. I feel like there's a lot of deep messages to be said. One that I would like to key on first is memories. Memories in this movie. Specifically talking about the central characters that Kubo encounters and what they've imparted on him. You know, we meet Kubo's mother, and her memory keeps failing after her traumatic incident, whether it be because of hitting her head on the rock or because she's trying to save her mental energy considering the day-night schedule. It's like losing those memories make her less of a human in that current state to Kubo, and he's almost like lost another member of his family. I thought that was interesting. Everyone's having trouble recollecting memories. I want to say it's about trying to think as a person and trying to sort out the past and what's happened generations before you. I feel like those discoveries can be formative in a sense, like Kubo getting older and becoming a man in the face of all this trauma that's happened to his family around him. Recollecting these things, these memories of the past, like I find myself frequently talking about our times in college, this and that. Memories serve as a good way to tell stories, just like Kubo, you know?
I was going to say, and as much as they emphasize the the memories. And I do think that you're touching on the mother's lack of thereof, making her less human, is interesting. As much as they touch on the memories being important, the tangible artifacts, the mother's hair, the father's bowstring,
Yeah.
as much as you can call those memories, those are actually physical items. They carry stories with them as well, and they have power
Right.
also.
That's interesting. Like, you're right. That hair that was torn from her mother's head, that carries weight behind it. And he used that to his advantage later in the film to fend back his grandfather in his totalitarian intentions, you know?
Yeah.
I never thought about that. The memories behind the stories we tell and the items we carry reconnects us with our greater humanity, especially in the context of our friends and family.
I think another theme I like in this, obviously there's the duality, night versus day, love versus hate. I like that they chose love over hate. I think that was, it's been a bit done in terms of storytelling, but I think the way they did it, his whole quest is to obtain these items to protect himself, to equip himself with a weapon that can slay his enemy. In the end, he doesn't use it. He opts to fight hate with love, just being willing to forgive and accept.
It seems so simple, but the visual storytelling they do, like you're saying, speaks volumes. Like, you have that golden armor and a sword that really reflects that day and superficial heroic nature, but really it's what Kubo keeps inside of him that shines through, right?
Yeah.
And then you have like the visual storytelling with his mother and bathed in the warmth of that cave and the sun rising when he's outside sharing that moment outside the cave with her, that daylight that breaks through that really just speaks to love and companionship. And yeah, I definitely understood the day-night contrast, but I guess it does speak more to the story as well.
There's one more theme, and I don't know if I'm grasping at straws here, but it seems like they're trying to tell you that the pen really is mightier than the sword. Going back to, I guess, spoiler alert, he defeats his grandfather. I don't know if I'm even allowed to do this. Am I allowed to do this?
Do what?
Just reveal the ending of the movie. Is that cool?
I don't see why not. Everybody, if you want to continue on with this episode, I would hit pause. If you're really interested in watching Kubo, please do. But if you just like to hear two people talking about some of the themes in a movie that you'd like to have from a distance, please go forward.
So he defeats his grandfather, and
Yeah.
as we've referred to back with the memories, he's incarnated, I guess you could say, with a blank slate. He has no memory of anything, who he is, who Kubo is. And you see the townspeople kind of writing his story for him. They're telling him he's the best man in the town. He's very charitable to the homeless. He's nice to all the kids, gives them gifts. It reflects the love overcoming hate. If you're a townsperson here, you have no idea what is even going on. I don't know what you can even say. You saw in front of you. You just saw this giant shark get smited by this child. Now there's a man in front of you who knows nothing, and the first thing you choose to do is tell him that, this is your grandson, you love him very much, you love everyone here, we all love you. It's trying to tell you that no matter what your past actions are, you can remake yourself in whatever light, as long as it's genuine.
Yeah. The whole grandfather part of the story with him taking the Moon Kingdom, taking his eyes away so that they're blind to, humanity and its follies. It's interesting because the monkey, his mom, and Beetle or Hanzo, they really do everything in their power to not be selfish, see other perspectives, teach him that compassion. You need to have those perspectives about the world, like keeping your eyes open, not closed off, not shutting your blinds to a world next to you, and knowing that you can give but also receive just as much love and knowledge both ways. It really has to do with our collective stories, I guess. Like, not just Kubo and his magical storytelling, but us giving experiences and connections to one another that really make this melting pot of something new, exciting, maybe helping make our stories, even the bad parts, more digestible. I love the quote where it says, like, just because you think you're at maybe an ending to your story doesn't mean that you can't unpack it, unfold it, and create something new, like thinking about the origami that Kubo makes. I love that quote because that is something that I need to remind myself when I get in a rough patch that, okay, maybe I've made this with my decisions. What can I do now with that?
Overall, the messages in this story are, they're not trying to put on a facade. I feel like they actually believe in the story they're telling. They genuinely want to impart this message to everyone who watches the movie, and anyone who could take away something helpful from it, more the better.
I think we could maybe go ahead and talk about our verdict on this film. We've talked about the characters, the setting, and now the themes. But before we do that, is there anything last that you wanted to touch on? Are there any messages that are currently applicable to your life?
It's more just like an overcoming adversity thing. I personally don't know like where my next contract will be. I don't have anything set in stone. Everything's kind of up in the air, but the sun will rise again. It'll all work itself out.
Nice. He's a theme, man. I love it.
I got you.
I'm going to start by saying that I 100% would recommend this movie to people. I think if I can speak to it, naysayers, I would agree with them and say maybe the pacing of this movie is a little bit off. There's some parts that lag when they shouldn't, and the comedy doesn't always deliver each time. It's a very unique, naturalistic comedy. But that being said, I would recommend it because there are so many messages that I feel like this movie presents on memories, death, and the stories we tell that not many other people are willing to go to about this generational trauma. It doesn't always happen because people want escapism. And this really takes these themes head on. I think it released at the same time as Inside Out and it got buried. But please uncover this film, pull back those curtains on death and the exploration of our collective stories, and watch this movie because to me, this movie is like an 8.5 to 9 out of 10. I'm going to put it at an 8.5 because I do have a little bit of grievances with it that I aired out just before. Where are you at with it?
I pretty much it's gonna be a cop out, but you pretty much said everything that I was thinking. Some of the pacing, I guess the way it throws you into just this whole world with almost little to no introduction. There's like a lot of insinuated plot points at the very beginning that if you rewatch it, it all makes a little more sense the second time around. As you said, the natural comedy of it, I think McConaughey did a very good job of being cringy, but also semi-funny.
It was endearing to the dad story,
Yeah,
honestly.
I agree. But yeah, I mean, overall, I think the film is jam-packed with deeper meaning, and I think there's something to take away for everyone. So 8.5 seems about right to me. They're like you said, a couple flaws, but overall, a very good one.
I can see why you would put this up there in your favorite films.
And I can even just on the effort it took to create the film, I feel like puts it up there as well. The attention to detail,
you respect the details and the craft that people put in.
It's just
you like the behind the scenes type shit.
I would implore everybody who watches this movie to go and watch a behind the scenes clip of the making of this movie because it's honestly just mind blowing.
I have to. I should. I really should.
I thought I was going to get you on some of those facts and a lie, but you pulled all the stops. That game's only going to get harder for you. I hope you know that.
Yeah, I think maybe in the future I'll steer away from a numbers game because that is a lot to ask of the guests, and I might have just been trying to pad the stats there. So
stacking the pads.
Now, I typically ask the guests like, what would their ideal coffee pairing be for the movie?
I still just love a nice black coffee. Give me some notes. Give me the notes.
Yeah. It's about the process in the morning, brewing that coffee up and coming down to really just digest this meaningful film.
And honestly, the smell sometimes is better than actually drinking the coffee, and I will stand by that.
There are coffee's one of those things that it's either hit or miss for people, but no one can deny the smell. I feel like very few people say, "Yeah, I hate the smell of coffee. It's the worst."
brew me some coffee, fry me up some bacon. I can just roll right out of bed and
You don't even need to go
float
out. You
into the
just need to
kitchen.
smell it cartoonishly float. The wafting smell of bacon and coffee. Oh, there's few things better. Well, Aaron, we've really talked about so many deep messages in this film, and your presence really made it that much more accessible. Like, I feel like talking with a friend about these bigger themes in life, it's clear to me when I speak with my friends and families about these subjects, because I don't feel uncomfortable approaching them. You know, I feel very comfortable with you, and you're someone who is very much non-judgmental in your approaches with people, and you make people feel welcome, and they can open up to you, because people are just ready to spill the tea.
Well, I appreciate that, Evan. Thank you so much. That's one heck of a compliment. I feel the same about you. I mean, we've been friends for so long that maybe it's just that relationship we've built. We've lived together, traveled together. But I think as you've conveyed through these 3-4 previous episodes, very personable, willing to listen to other people and take in their considerations.
Thank you, Aaron. I'm currently wiping the tear bead from my eye.
Let it fall.
You.
Let it fall.
The palpitations are real with love right now. All right, so Being Realers, if I can leave you with anything, speaking about Kubo and the 2 strings, mixed in with the Dirty Girl Scout iced coffee, take a moment to reflect on all of the memories you've made with your friends and loved ones, and think, how can that push me forward? And how can that make me a better human amongst the sea of beings that have their own stories to tell? How are you going to take their messages? Maybe rewrite your own, or improve upon something that's already been wonderful.